Tesla is up 9 and change this morning, very likely due to strong numbers from China, just as yesterday's sell-off was likely due to weak numbers from China. So I can remember years ago when Apple would have these same swings based on their China sales expectations or China sales results. Well, the beat this morning is well above the losses from yesterday as Tesla gets back nicely above 250, heading towards 260. And it's, by the way, it's heading up even now, even though it's up 950 already. This is also absolutely likely to be due to the bet on Trump win also switching from yesterday. There was a lot of worry that maybe he wasn't going to win, and that has switched back to an overall, I would say, general feeling by markets that Trump is going to win, and that is propping up Tesla this morning as well. Now, there's more to that, but I can tell you this is going to be one of those days where people who love numbers are going to be in heaven. So bonds are flat. Equities are mostly up again, and they're going up higher now again, I think, because of the election betting with regard to Trump being back on the positive side. Now, there's other reasons why Tesla could be up this morning, and one of those is regarding Joe Rogan. You know, there's a reason why Joe Rogan is the king. He's the king of the long form interview, and he showed it last night in his typical 3-hour long interview that he did with Elon Musk last night. He was actually able to plow some new ground. We learned, for instance, that there isn't going to be, and they don't even discuss the idea of a Tesla phone of some kind of a competition to iPhone. He said, sure, if he had to do it because iPhone and Android were both compromised in some way, he would do it. And he says that Tesla is better positioned than any other company in the world to do such a thing. But he says, nope, not even on the table. Well, he was also able to give extremely clear. He provided an opportunity through that 3 hours for Musk to give a very clear understanding of what he plans to do in a Trump White House, and also gave details how he would actually cut government if he had a chance to do his 𝐑𝐚𝐽 commission. I recommend, by the way, that you listen to that entire 3-hour interview. It's really quite entertaining. After the interview, and as part of the promotion for this interview, Rogan endorsed Trump last minute, last night, before the election. I know I'm a fanboy, but that's just one more piece of evidence about Elon Musk's sales capabilities. You don't get to where Elon Musk is without being an amazing salesman. That's part of what I talk about in the Elon Musk method, which is one of his superpowers. At the same time, there's no way to overstate or overemphasize the impact that the few minutes that were spent during that 3 hours where Rogan was just talking so much good stuff about his third Tesla that he's owned and how he's currently having it modded out. It was that was a great advertisement, and 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, 40 million people are going to see that interview, maybe more than that. Throughout the interview, Rogan laid it on thick about Elon's gift to history of buying Twitter and the amazing feat of catching the booster in the 𝐓𝐿. And so this went on and on. That's advertising. That's promotion. It's promotion at a level that you're not going to see anywhere else. Well, Dan Ives is singing from my hymnal this morning. Barron quotes in this way: investors have been asking us about if Trump gets in the White House again and wins the election, is it good or bad for Tesla? He says he believes a second Trump presidency would be an overall negative for the EV industry. Purchase tax credits would likely go away. I don't think so. I think they might be reduced, but not go away. The silver lining for Tesla is that it has unmatched scale, so it can weather the loss of that purchase incentive better than others. This is according to Ives, who rates Tesla shares a buy and still has a $300 price target for the stock. By the way, there's a whole lot of people now that have that $300 price target, including me. I think by the end of January at the latest. And then if we get some kind of a final, breakthrough on FSD, where it is now unsupervised. Then we go back to all-time highs and higher. Other positives for the U.S. automakers including Tesla, will be higher tariffs on Chinese imports, insulating the U.S. industry from foreign competition that relies on low-cost labor. By the way, no Chinese cars are sold anyway in the United States, although I think we're going to see a lot of Chinese cars being made in the United States. A second Trump term would also likely mean less regulatory burdens on self-driving cars, and Tesla is planning to launch a robotaxi service at the end of 2025. This would be the biggest benefit that I can see, the biggest the clear thing that would be a win. The impact of a Trump administration is complicated, he went on. The impact of a Harris administration is more straightforward, he says. Typically, Democratic administrations have been EV friendly. Biden, for instance, restored purchase tax credits for Tesla vehicles. Analysts, for the most part, believe a Democratic win means business as usual with no big changes in emissions policy or EV tax credits. Musk, for his part, believes there's a risk of some personal persecution if Harris wins. Boy, does he. Any that develop would be a negative for Tesla investors who believe Musk is a key to the future of Tesla. Investors will watch Tesla stock just like they have watched election results on Tuesday. This is me talking now, not him. Tesla stock was up 2% in the early trading at 247.64, but in the S&P 500 and Dow Jones were up 2.2% and 0.1% respectively. I'm sorry, that was them talking. And I've told you it's way bigger than that now. It's over 3% for Tesla. Coming into Tuesday's, maybe even 4%. Coming into Tuesday's trading, shares dropped for 6 consecutive days. By the way, we'll talk about that more in a minute. The Barron's article seems to have left out these other comments from Dan Ives that are in the tip ranks article. If Trump wins, he could potentially speed up certain initiatives related to FSD, full self-driving, and autonomous technology, which will be a boon for Tesla and Waymo too. However, Ives goes on to add there are other negative implications and ramifications for Tesla if Trump gets elected, especially on the China front. That is because even though higher tariffs on China could offer some benefits, a big concern for Tesla revolves around retaliatory actions from Beijing that might spark a trade war, creating geopolitical headwinds in this key market. As seen during the first Trump administration, any problems with China are not good for Tesla, especially given that over 40% of their deliveries are generated in that region, and a substantial portion of the production relies on Giga Shanghai. I don't agree with Dan Ives on this very much. Yes, it's possible that Trump and Xi could get into a real bitter battle with regard to tariffs that might slightly impact Tesla in China. I don't think so. I think that these negotiations will be done so well. Anyway, that's just me. Trump getting in the White House would open up a wild card on the China front that would be seen by the street as negative, initially as negative, Ives says. Hats off to the Wall Street Journal this morning. Listen to this article. This is just amazing. On a possible heir apparent. They don't say that. I'm saying that. After you listen, you will probably think the same thing. It says, when Tesla's manufacturing executives gathered in Shanghai this January, some were surprised to see Elon Musk's longtime aide, Omead Afshar, I'm hoping that I'm not killing that pronunciation, in attendance. The forum, hosted by Tesla's most senior automotive executive, 𝐬𝐚𝐽, was designed to get the company's global leadership team on the same page about best practices and the rising threat from electric vehicle makers in China. But Afshar, Musk's former project manager and confidant, wasn't a manufacturing executive at that time. In fact, it wasn't clear to many that it was even employed by Tesla. At Tesla, many people hadn't seen him since 2022 when he moved to 2 of Musk's other companies after an internal investigation about the glass house. Remember that whole thing? Afshar's attendance at the Shanghai Forum was a sign of things to come. In the months since, the man noticed Tesla as Musk's fixer, ascended the ranks to become one of the most powerful executives at the car maker. He returned to Giga, Texas, the headquarters in Austin, in early 2024, as Musk restructured his leadership team and laid off the 10%, as we remember. This fall, Afshar was officially promoted to VP, overseeing sales and vehicle manufacturing in North America and Europe, 2 regions previously overseen by 𝐬𝐻. The Wall Street Journal had reported this earlier. A Californian who joined Tesla 7 years ago, Afshar once ran Tesla's office of the CEO and oversaw construction of the 10 million square foot factory in Texas. He was seen by employees internally as a proxy to Musk and made decisions on the ground while his boss flew around the world and split his time between Tesla and his other companies. He says, Afshar says, I focus on wherever the problem is. So a lot of firefighting. If there's an issue, that's where I am. Usually when people see me, they're not always happy because it means there's a problem. His promotion signifies Musk's renewed focus on the car business at a time when profitability and sales have come under pressure and Tesla's putting more resources into robotics and AI. A transition Musk sees as critical to the company's future. It also reshapes Tesla's leadership team, and the top ranks were thrown into flux this spring with the departure of several high-ranking executives. Through the years and at his different stops, Afshar has been called many things by coworkers: the kingmaker, the messenger, and the Musk whisperer, to signify his closeness to the boss. Inside Tesla, he's known for his ability to mind meld with Musk and translate the wants and needs of the mercurial billionaire to other members of the Tesla leadership team. Like Musk, Afshar has also slept on the factory floor and prioritizes his job at the expense of his personal life. I have missed a few birthdays from time to time, he told folks at a UC Irvine alumni event. Afshar has been Musk's right-hand man for several years and is viewed by employees as capable of influencing Musk's decision and often acting on his behalf. I think you're getting the point. I think that's really the key. Okay, Musk deploys him where needed. In 2020, Afshar was put in charge as senior director of Giga Texas. We said that. By summer 22, Giga Texas is mostly complete. The giant building, never mind. Oh, goodness, that was all repeated again. I thought I got rid of that repeat. So sorry here. From Investors Business Daily this morning, you want another reason why Tesla stock was down 6 days in a row? Well, here you go. Cathie Wood has sold Tesla stock every trading day since October 28th, when Ark Invest unloaded more than 120,000 shares, according to the company's daily trade disclosure. Over this stretch, Wood has sold 245,000 shares, including 9,985 Tesla shares on Monday, total of 2.42 million, based on the closing price of 242. As of November 5, Tesla stock is the top holding, still, after all the selling, top holding in her Ark Invest with 13.48%. Tesla ranks second in Ark's next generation with a weight of 8.89, so that's under 10%. The EV company is also the top stock in autonomous tech ETF with a weight of 13.29. So you can see she was way overextended compared to her normal stuff, and still is. She might still be selling. It could still impact the stock in the days to come. All right. By the way, this is Randy Kirk. I know that was a long intro, but hit the like, subscribe, notify. Brian White, later this morning, we do a news. We jump around all over the world, taking a look at the news in all the different parts of the Tesla empire. And I think you'll, of course, enjoy that. And then later tonight, on election night, we're going to be having Nick Gibbs will be along. And, he's not passionate about what's going to happen tonight in the elections. Anyway, that should be fun. So join us for all of that. The U.S. trade deficit expanded in September to its widest since early 2022 as imports increased while companies stocked up ahead of possible disruptions like a dock worker strike. The world's biggest economy saw its trade gap jump 19.2% to $84.4 billion, way beyond what the expectations were on Wall Street. This might have at least partially related, as we just said, to the dock strikes. Now, markets perked up this morning, right at 7 o'clock my time, 10 o'clock East Coast time, when this report came out from ISM. Economic activity in the service sector expanded for the fourth consecutive month in October, says the nation's purchasing and supply executives. The services PMI registered 56%. I think that was bigger than Wall Street was expecting. Highest reading since July 2022, and indicates sector expansion for the 50th time in 53 months. Services just continue to going up, where manufacturing, of course, not so much. The report was issued today by Steve Miller, He said in October, the services PMI increased to 56%, 1.1% higher than the September reading of 54.9. The reading in October marked the 8th time the composite index has been in expansion territory this year out of 10 months. The business activity index registered 50, the business activity part of the index was at 57.2. That's 2.7 percentage points lower than September, indicating a fourth month of expansion. This is so confusing. After a contraction in June, the new orders index decreased to 57.4 in October, 2% below September's figure. The employment index landed in expansion territory for the third time in 4 months. The reading of 53% is a 4.9% increase. So employment going up even as business activity went lower and new orders was lower. The prices index registered 58.1% in October, a 1.3 percentage point decrease from September's reading of 59.4. So that's good news. The inventories index remained in expansion territory. So some things up, some things down. But 14 industries reported growth up from two from the 12 that were reported in September. The increase in the services PMI in October was driven by boosts of more than 4 percentage points for both the employment and suppliers delivery indexes. The business activity and new orders index both dropped, so that offset. The supplier deliveries index remained in expansion in October, also indicating slower delivery performance. Concerns over political uncertainty were still the main thing that kept getting mentioned by folks in the survey. So there you go. But overall, that was seen as a positive, apparently by the markets, or at least that's what I was seeing earlier. Let's see what's happened since. Okay, now that's flattened out. So Tesla has also pulled back just a little bit. It's been actually been bouncing back and forth between up 8 and up almost 10. And right now it's at 797. We've got the Dow up 305. It is now, after going up nicely, it's flat. NASDAQ up 187. It is actually just slightly down from the top that it was earlier today. And the S&P is more like the Dow. It's gone up and then it's flat. Okay, Tesla now moving back up over 8 again. The rest of the Magnificent Seven all up, including, importantly, Meta is the biggest, up 825. Microsoft up also nicely, a full percent, and NVIDIA up 2%. You've got all the Cathie Woods for the most part, except for CRISPR, that she was just promoting like crazy. So maybe something went wrong with one of their efforts with the government. But basically up for the Cathie Woods this morning as well. Okay, let's go ahead and see. Oh, I'm sorry. I got to give you those percentages. We have got the Dow up 0.74, the NASDAQ up a full percent, S&P up 0.84. So fairly similar in the overall numbers there, and Tesla up 3.17%, well above the normal the doubling of the NASDAQ, which is only up 1%. Okay, now let's take a look at the bonds. We have got the 10-year is up 0.8 of a basis point. Whoops. Oh, sorry. Wow, what a change. Maybe that's why the market is flattening out. And maybe that also had to do with that report from the services industry. So the 10-year is now up 5.3%, 4.362. We have got the 2-year up 6.1 basis points at 4.237. You've got the 3-month up 2.2 and the 2-month down 1.1. So yeah, all of a sudden we have the bonds super selling off today. The rates going up, yields going up. That was not, that's new. So that may be due to that services report. And we have got oil at this point going up again, $72 now. Brent, $75.70. So that is continuing to move upward. The natural gas down a little bit this morning, down 1.62%, but still very strong at $2.74. You've got gold flat, completely flat this morning. Silver up 0.63, almost back to 32.83. You've got the dollar down a little bit against the yen, 0.11, and up a little against the euro, 0.23. You've got Bitcoin up 2,000. Okay, so generally speaking, what you're seeing right now, the bet is back in pretty much across the board. This is showing the bet is back in for a Trump victory. Crypto up almost 2,000 at 69,471. And as mentioned, the Dow, all the equities up this morning. One last look at Tesla before we say goodbye. It is now up 787. So staying right in that same roughly high 7 to 10 is where Tesla has been all morning long. Okay, so this is a very interesting day. I'll be very interested to talk to you again. Brian White later today, and then Nick Gibbs. I'm sure that will be a super interesting conversation that we will have around 4 o'clock California time, that you will get to see around 5:15 California time. So it'll be, late in the day. Obviously, no actual numbers coming in from the election, but we should have at least some clues from some of the exit polling there as the day progresses. Okay, so what else? Patreon. Support the channel, Patreon. It's been great talking to you.